Welcome back to another impactful episode of the PSTA podcast. It's Craig King, your host, and we are counting down, Patrick, to the end of the legislative session, sir.
Counting. Keep it coming. At this point, it's which will end first, the session or the pollen.
Yeah. The pollen stopped, hadn't it?
I don't know. I mowed my lawn yesterday, and my eyes are burning today. So apparently it's all resting on my grass.
I'm knocking on wood, as you can hear. This season has been the best season for me as it relates to not being affected by pollen. Like, I got a little bit. I've probably taken Zyrtec probably 4 or 5 times this whole season, and I haven't had my normal episodes, Patrick, not to rub it in by any stretch.
I mean, you're feeling bold right now. You might as well go buy a lottery ticket while you're out there trying to challenge the pollen gods in South Carolina. They're going to get you.
I cut my grass this weekend too, Patrick.
Okay.
No mask, shorts, short sleeves, like...
You'll be in my prayers daily.
Yeah, maybe I spoke too soon, everybody. Yeah, I probably did. I feel it coming on now. Nose is starting to itch. All right, that is not why they came to listen. But I will say, Patrick, every week, whether it's online, in person, Hill Day, someone is always saying, hey, like, I'm a fan of your podcast. And it's great. So...
Well,
we have fans.
Let's give them some content.
All right, we're a minute and 40 seconds in. Let's talk about what we really came here to talk about, Patrick. So let's go down the list of things that are important. Educator Assistance Act.
Yeah, so Educator Assistance Act, we're recording this on Monday, April 28th. Hopefully on Tuesday, April the 29th, the bill is going to be heading to the governor. The Senate gave ceremonial third reading to the bill last Thursday after they wrapped up the state budget process. The bill now has to return to the House because it was a House bill that was amended by the Senate. Mm-hmm. And so the House has really 3 options in front of them on Tuesday when they probably take up the bill. You never guarantee it, but they're probably going to take it up on Tuesday. Number 1, they could concur with the Senate amendments and accept the Senate amendments in effect. That would send the bill to the governor. The governor said he'd sign it into law. That's our preferred position by far. Number 2, the House could amend the bill further and send it back to the Senate and see what the Senate did with that. Or number 3, the House could insist on their original version of the bill and send that back to the Senate. Neither of those options would kill the bill. It would keep it in play, but given the fact there are only 6 legislative days remaining, PSTA's position is strongly for House concurrence to occur with the Senate version so we can get this thing to the governor, because if it goes back to the Senate, we may run out of days, especially because this year's sine die resolution ends the legislative session at 5 p.m. on Thursday, May 8th, and does not allow for conference committee work to occur until the legislature returns in January, or certainly doesn't allow the full legislature to address conference committee work until January.
Yeah, so we're hoping that this continues to move the way we want it to move, and we'll keep you posted on any updates on the Educator Assistance Act. And thank you for your engagement in this piece of legislation. I know I probably speak for Patrick when there has been tons of engagement on our platform as it relates to this piece of legislation. So we're going to see it through to the finish line.
Yeah, it's a great example of how positive relationships and positive advocacy can be effective, because there's a lot of members of the legislature that know about this bill, that have heard about this bill, that can talk about this bill, and they've been educated on it by thoughtful, respectful dialogue from educators, and it can move the needle. It may not get a whole lot of attention on the national news,
right? But
it works.
Yeah. And not just educated on this piece of legislation, but educated just on the process and what teachers go through on a day-to-day basis, the struggles and the successes that they have, and why this piece of legislation affects a lot of it. So thank you for that, Patrick. Let's go to 78, Senate Bill 78, work experience credit.
Yeah, so the Senate bill is Senator Tom Young's bill. My tongue got stuck to my roof of my mouth there. This thing's sorry I couldn't get this.
Wait. Pause. You know we do this, guys. All of our fans. I had a moment. I thought about that bologna sandwich that I would eat as a kid with the white bread, and when you chewed it, it got stuck to the roof of your mouth. That is exactly the memory that I had. Probably too much information for our fans out there, but yeah, go ahead.
I'm actually, the fact that you just pegged a director of government affairs as being white white bread bologna. Makes perfect sense because it was like bologna for a career.
What I meant.
That's what I took away from it.
That's funny.
So
okay,
S78,
go ahead.
A78, Senator Young's bill has made it to the floor of the House. It received a favorable report last week from the House Education and Public Works Committee. So it is sitting on the House calendar, hopefully to receive debate on Tuesday, the 29th. If the House gives it second reading, the bill would receive ceremonial third reading the next day. It will need to return to the Senate because the House has made one technical amendment. What they've done is they've amended it to allow an individual to get work experience credit on their certificate, but it will only go into effect for the next school year. You can't change mid-school year, and the rationale was there that gives districts greater capacity to budget for their salary impact. So that will have to go back to the Senate. I don't anticipate the Senate having any problem with that. They would probably concur with it, and that would, again, keep the bill on track to get to the governor for signature by the 8th.
Good deal. Well, thank you for that update on 78 work experience credit. So education savings accounts. We're both tongue-tied today. Yeah. Education savings accounts.
Yeah, S62 is back. It came roaring out of the gate in January. It got passed by the Senate, passed by the House real quick, and then it sat quietly for about 2 months. And then a little over a week and a half ago, Senator Hembry brought it back to the floor of the Senate. And what he did is he brought forward a comprehensive amendment, almost a rewrite of the bill that he says is a compromise between he and House Education Chair Shannon Erickson, because there were significant differences in the House and Senate versions of the bill. So it was a Senate bill amended by the House. So what the Senate is doing is taking the option that we just talked about with the Educator Assistance Act to amend the bill again and then send it back to the House. The compromise amendment does a lot of things, but probably the biggest headlines is it would allow for lottery or education scholarship accounts to be funded out of either the lottery account or the general fund. The Senate position initially was lottery. The House position was general fund. Now it's whichever one the budget writing committees would want. It maintains the trustee, which is a new position created in the House bill that would administer the distribution of funds. And the idea there is that gets around the prohibition on expenditure of public funds for direct benefit of private schools, because then it becomes like extra indirect if some third-party administrator is rerouting these funds. This third-party administrator is appointed by a state official and can be removed by a state official, so it kind of feels like a state official, but yeah. that this is the theory of action. The compromise amendment would set the value of an ESA at $7,500. The Senate had put it at 90% of the average state per pupil expenditure. The House had put it at $6,000 with an escalator clause. So the compromise is $7,500 with an annual adjustment based on the percentage increase in the average per pupil expenditure from the state. That was a mouthful, and I got that out correctly.
Yeah.
And then the final big substantive thing is the Senate bill caps the ESA program at 15,000 ESAs per year at max implementation. The House bill was unlimited, as many as the General Assembly wants to fund. The compromise bill sets it at 15,000 with the option for the budget writing committees to go higher. And I said last thing, I lied. There's one other. The Senate version of the bill capped income eligibility at 400% of poverty. So a student would only be eligible if they were in a household making at or below 400% of poverty. The House eliminated income eligibility and said anybody can apply. The compromise version sets income eligibility at 500% of poverty. So for a family of four, that's about $160,000 a year. I fully anticipate the Senate is going to pass that bill this week. Mm-hmm. They tried to last week, and they failed to do so because they forgot to have a quorum on Thursday afternoon. Senate rules require at least 24 senators to be present. By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there were only 23 present, and Senator Russell Ott from Lexington and Calhoun pointed out, we don't have enough people. They didn't. They had to go home. But that's a delay. That's not going to prevent this bill from passing. It's a clearly identified priority for both majority caucuses in both chambers. But there is still some possibility for some amendment to the compromise version of the bill. Senator Hembry said he's going to oppose every amendment because he feels like he has kind of given his word to send that version back to the House. But he's 1 out of 46. That doesn't mean the other 45 can't push for and vote for amendments.
That's right. Well, thank you for that update on Senate Bill 62, the education savings accounts. We'll keep you posted on any changes and what the House decides to do once what we anticipate to happen, which would be the Senate passing it, that version, that compromise. So budget.
Yeah, so the budget
budget
has made it out of the Senate, went back to the House. The House will have the opportunity possibly this week, possibly next week. It's got to be one of these 2 weeks because there's only 2 weeks remaining, to amend the budget again because it's a House bill, went to the Senate amended it, now it goes back to the House can and will amend it again, and then they'll send it over to the Senate, and the Senate will say, we want to go to conference committee. This is how the budget works. The Senate version of the budget does not substantially differ from the House version in the area of K-12. Now, outside of K-12, especially higher ed, there's some big differences, but in the K-12 space, which is the bulk of our listeners, the big level or the big ticket items in the budget are identical. The same increase in state-aided classrooms, the same new minimum statewide teacher salary schedule that would raise starting minimum pay to $48,500 and raise every cell in every lane, bachelor's, master's, plus 30, and doctorate by $1,500 per cell in step 0 through 28. All that's the same. Even the provisos are largely the same. There were a few policy items in K-12 added to the Senate version of the budget, but they aren't massive game changers like, say, the free-to-focus cell phone policy from last year or something. Probably the biggest difference is the Senate fully funds the projected increase in costs for the state health plan. The House budget did not, and under the House budget, that failure to fully fund the increased cost of the state health plan would result in individuals on state health insurance, educators, paying an extra $3,500 a month on average in healthcare premiums. And if you take a $1,500 raise, but then you got $35 a month coming out of your paycheck to cover a healthcare cost increase, that means about a third of your raise is going to get gobbled up by health insurance premium increases. The Senate would fund it to where nobody gets an increase in premium. So you truly experience that $1,500 pay increase under the state minimum salary schedule.
Got it. Thanks, Patrick. And we'll keep you updated on when the budget is headed to conference committee, because that is the normal projection of where we are this time of year. I don't even remember a time where both houses agreed on a budget, so it doesn't happen. So we'll keep you updated on that. Patrick, we're getting towards the end of the session, legislative session. Anything else you want to share with our members regarding that?
Yeah, I think what people need to keep in mind is this is year one of a 2-year General Assembly. Yep. So May 8th is the end. Thursday, May 8th. Literally 6 legislative days remaining in the day we're recording this. After that point, if a bill has not made it to the governor, it will not make it to the governor until January of 2026 at the earliest. Mm-hmm. So a bill that doesn't get to the governor by May 8th is not dead, it's just frozen. And that's significant because some really big ticket K-12 education bills are not going to get to the governor. In the Senate on the calendar right now, they have S-454, the Charter School Accountability Act, really comprehensive revision of our state's charter laws. That's probably not going to pass the Senate by May 8th. It's certainly not going to pass the House by May 8th. The Senate has S-268, the social media regulation bill that we've talked about on here before that PSTA supports. It's not getting to the finish line by May 8th, but it'll still be in play when we come back in 2026. The House, once they clear the Educator Assistance Act and S-78 off their calendar, they won't have a lot of K-12 bills on their calendar, but they're still working in committee. The House Education and Public Works Committee is meeting on the 29th to review 7 or 8 different bills dealing with everything from additives in food in school meals to a bill to eliminate the South Carolina High School League. None of those bills are going to make it to the governor by May 8th, But if they can make it to the House floor, they'd start 2026 on the House floor. If they can make it out of the House, they'll start the next year in the Senate. So there are very few education bills that will make it to the governor this year. S-62 will. The Educator Assistance Act certainly looks like it will. S-78 looks like it's going to. But outside of that, there's not a lot of major education bills that'll hit the finish line, but that's not atypical for a part-time legislature that meets for roughly 18 weeks, 3 days a week during the year. Most of the stuff that makes it to the governor always happens in year 2. So people, if you're looking for a bill that you've been tracking that doesn't look like it's going to hit the finish line, don't get discouraged, don't give up. Of course, it would have been great for you to see your bill make it to the governor, but it's going to be in play in January.
Yeah, that's good information, Patrick. Advocacy and policy is a snail's process in a lot of regards. So, as he mentioned, those bills that he mentioned are some others that you're following that may not be education related, that you're just following because you're nerds like Patrick and I. Don't be discouraged that it won't pass this legislative session, which includes 2 years. For me, I want to thank all of our groups that came up for Legislative Hill Days. We have one more on Wednesday, our last Legislative Hill Day. Horse Creek Academy from Aiken County is coming up, and they will be our 23rd Legislative Hill Day this session. Cannot thank our groups enough for the time they took away from their schools and their classrooms to come up and advocate for their students and their profession. I think it was highly successful.
Absolutely. I think it is a powerful thing to see educators at the State House talking with their elected officials. I'm grateful for the work you and Tony do to make that possible through PSTA. It's one of the best things going on.
Appreciate it, Patrick. Well, it's been another impactful episode.
Yeah, that's the pollen getting you already.
Yeah,
You can't even talk anymore.
Nose is itching. Yep. It's been another impactful episode of the PSTA podcast. I'm Craig King, host. I'll see you next time.